We're going to be talking about losing your twin. There are many ways to lose your twin. Sometimes you can lose your twin through them going, really digging deep into 3D and deciding that they don't want to know. They just don't want to know anything, because to realize the soul connection they have with you, forget the label twin. Forget the label twin. The fact that knowing and realizing the connection they have with you forces them to be awakened. Forces them. Because then they have to go down the rabbit hole of what is this connection? Why do I feel this way for this person and no one else? I love my family. I love my children. I even love my wife or husband, high level soulmate. But I've never felt this way before. That triggers a whole set of events, of awakenings upon awakenings upon awakenings. People say I had my Kundalini awaken, like it's going to happen one time. It happens multiple times in your lifetime. It will happen multiple times. Because a true massive Kundalini awakening is an earthquake, tsunami, hurricane, and most people don't have the brain capacity, 3D brain, to actually handle it, and some people go crazy. So because the universe is wise and kind, it allows the Kundalini awakening to happen in multiple waves, soft, lapping waves. Sometimes very, very intense, but not so intense that you'll lose your fucking mind. So there are multiple awakenings, which include Kundalini and other aspects of awakening. There's a saying that goes, once you've seen it, you can't go back. The human brain is a very interesting thing. Sometimes, once the brain sees it, it is such in shock, it is so earth-shattering, because everything they believe was real isn't. And they will run back to the cage of their own sleep. They'll just go back to sleep, because the trauma, and trauma usually is what causes that. But some people are just seriously afraid. It's really shocking to me. People are afraid of knowing, actually, fundamentally. They're afraid of knowing. They're afraid of seeing ghosts. They're afraid of their own downloads. They're afraid of the telepathy. They're afraid of knowledge. They're afraid of downloads coming in. They call it the devil, working on your chakras. I used to be kind of like Doreen Virtue. She was walking in her light, and she was creating all these angel cards and angel decks and angel this and angel that. And then decided to have a nervous breakdown. I'm sorry, that's what I'm going to call it. Because you can still walk besides Yeshua and Krishna and Buddha. Yeah, I'll be honest, I've never seen Buddha in my meditations and my downloads, but I've always seen Yeshua and Krishna. That's what I've seen. And I've seen Angel Michael, and I felt the presence of Angel Raphael Gabriel, and I've felt the presence and seen veiled, through the third eye, if you will, through the inner mind, dragons. And I've always been fascinated by unicorns since I was a tiny little girl, fascinated by unicorns. And, fairies. And for a time I could see fairies, believe it or not. And as could you. It's interesting, there's an Irish bard who's actually talking about how we could see them 2,000-3,000 years ago, because it was almost like an egregore energy. Not almost, he said, it was an egregore energy. So we've lost the ability to believe in magic. I'll tell you a funny, in my opinion, a funny story. My son was about 2-3 months old in his baby carriage, and I was taking a nap. I'll never forget, I saw an elf, like a brownie. I think it's a brownie. That's what I call him. Because he looked like he was like a Peter Pan energy. And he had this beautiful brown mushroom shimmering skin. And he had brown leggings and a purple velvet like shimmery tunic. And the little hat, the little brownie hat. And I remember waking up from a nap and seeing it, smiling down at my son. And I rubbed my eyes. I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, I rubbed my eyes and I saw him turn to look at me. And I rubbed my eyes again and he was fading away. So we are so hell-bent on believing in our 3D eyes. And by the way, the frequency of our actual eyes, forget that some of you are wearing glasses like I am. But our 3D eyes, they're frequencies of light that we can't see. There's tons of shit we can't see. This is science. This is not woohoo bullshit spirituality. Just to, it's actually science. There are frequencies we cannot see. And because of that, basically, in my humble opinion, we're kind of legally blind, spiritually speaking. So when we're given the opportunity to see, really see, and then we decide to freak ourselves out and scare the fuck out of us, there's a sense of, it's normal, but then you calm down. The first time I ever saw a ghost was the ghost of my grandfather. I was 3 years old in my grandfather's apartment in Paris, and he had died. We had lived in Africa, and my mom never recovered. The fact that he died on her birthday, never recovered from that. She felt massive guilt her whole entire life. But anyway, we had just come back from Africa, and I was 3 years old, and we were sleeping on the floor, because it was like a little Paris apartment. And there, in the silhouette, I saw my grandfather. And I sat there blinking and then looking, and it scared the fuck out of me because he was looking at me. But it was the silhouette. And I yelled, "It's grandpapa." And they, my mother, consoled me and so forth. But I look back on this fear of a 3-year-old from the consciousness of 3D, 1960s collective agreement of what is real and what is not, and adding the fact of some of my past lives in 1948 and another past life in I believe it was 1909, where there was massive trauma the way I died in both those incarnations. I think I brought with me some scars of fearing what made no sense to my 3D brain. Later on, I realized I had a visitation. No doubt. He came. I was very close to him, and I was his first grandchild, his only actually at the time. So the point about what I'm going to say to you is that this concept of when your twin leaves, there are multiple ways your twin is going to leave you, and it's very hard to prepare for that. I'm not going to say, "Oh, thank you, Lori. Thank you." I just look down to look, because, I look away when I talk. Thank you, Lori Lee. That's very kind of you. I'm very grateful for you. And Polly, it's good to see you. Very, very, so happy you're here. So one of the ways a twin can leave, which is breaking my heart to tell you, is consciously. It's actually not death. It's a twin leaving you because they are so entrenched in believing that what is real, that they will fight you tooth and nail before telling you, before capitulating, before surrendering to their own light. So the betrayal is not to you first, it's to themselves. When you choose to fall asleep, you betray yourself. And fear in the monkey mind becomes a parasitical energy. Death is not the ultimate loss. It's almost like spiritual Alzheimer's. There you go. There's a way I'm going to call it. Spiritual Alzheimer's is what happens when a twin decides to run because they don't want to know who you are. And in denying who you are, they're denying themselves. And this is not ego, spiritual bullshit to kiss your butt tagline. This is to say that you are them and they are you, and you're having a human experience in a concurrent incarnation. What does that mean? It means you're having an incarnation, your soul split for many lifetimes, and you've forgotten what it is to be joined in some aspects. And only when you're together, even sleeping in each other's arms. Probably the best sleep naps you've ever had was in your twin flames presence. No joke. Like literally, you conked out like you were like, what the fuck, this is amazing. But anyway, the concurrent incarnation. So they're having a concurrent incarnation in a masculine body or same gender body, and you're in a feminine or whatever, vice versa. And so when I say this, I mean this quite literally, that you are sharing, well, we all know this, a higher self, but most importantly, everything you're sharing, everything you're feeling. And that's why I say they're in pain and you feel it. They're doing X, Y, and Z and you feel it. Now, there is the ability to totally shut down. There's some people, I have a client I've been working with her for 4.5 years, and she's in a twin flame journey, and she's getting to the point where she's walking away. She has to, or else she will waste her life. I'm the twin flame coach that tells you, yeah, this is the end of the line. But I will help you realize when it is. In other words, you'll realize it, and I'll say, yeah, you're right. At this point, I remember her saying, I just want to leave. And I would say to her, you've got to see it all the way down the line. You've got to go all the way down this pathway. You can't deviate. If you do, you'll be in separation for a while, and then 3-4 years later, you'll be back looping again and again and again. It's best to just see it all the way down the line. See its course, even if it means that the course shows you every fuckery that they create for themselves in separating themselves from you. Until one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, you know what? No, not in this life. I guess not in this life. And that's okay. I'm good. I'm still going to do my mission. I'm still going to do my stuff. There's another client I was talking to I was saying, I know you're doing well and you're doing your mission, but there's stuff, because you're so concerned with your twin flames shit, and you're constantly like looking over your shoulder to see, is your twin flame okay? That it's preventing you from accomplishing your full mission. And what would that mean? It means writing a book. It means traveling. It means speaking engagements. It means helping others come to their own power so they can become, spiritual guides or spiritual healers or physical healers, chiropractic, whatever, right? And because you're constantly trying to figure out where he's at, and you're running after him, cleaning up his mess behind him or her, okay? You're unable to 1000% laser focus on your mission. So you're on your mission because you're doing spiritual work with your clients all over the world, but you're not in your true full-fledged mission. In other words, you're like a bird, flying from tree to tree, but you're not flying full force across one continent to another. Does that make sense? So that's a problem. So rather than beat yourself up and break yourself, you got to realize that you got to see things to the full extent and then go from there. You know what I mean? Yep, Rachel. Thank you. Love and light to all be there. Very good. So that's going to be something that is not easy, okay? Even if you end up being in union with a high-level soulmate, as I told this other client, I said, look, sometimes you're going to be so blissed out with your high-level soulmate that you're going to be like, and then suddenly it's going to hit you. You're going to feel your twin. This will be the truth for your entire existence, which is infinite, which means always. You will always, in fact, that's why some people are incarnated here and feel the energy of their twin, though they know their twin's not incarnated on this planet. Does that make sense? They feel the energy. It is a constant, again, remember, you're sharing a higher self, you're sharing an umbilical cord that stretches to infinity, to other planets, other dimensions. Some twins, their healing is death. I'm sorry. Sometimes, in fact, for anyone, by the way, death sometimes is the healing. We as human beings, there's just so much we can take. And then finally, our minds are so clogged. Read the book, The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, where he's taking peyote and he's taking LSD. And he's actually having his friends record what he's experiencing, right? So he's in an altered state of consciousness, obviously, right? And he's writing about, I read that book like 17, 18 times when I was a kid. I was like 16, 17. It's one of my favorite books. The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. And he talks about this funnel. I'll never forget that. When you're in an altered state of consciousness, your funnel, that little drip of information, of downloads, all that, opens up very wide. Like it goes from like, say, let's say 8 centimeters to 32 centimeters, right? And suddenly, all this fucking download is just pouring in like a funnel, like a river rushing into you. And you're like going, aha, aha. You're having aha moments of the wazoo. You're like being blasted by aha moments of understanding, of esoteric understanding. It's effortless. It's like breathing, and it's coming in. But he talks about when the funnel closes. In other words, when you come down from an altered state of consciousness, how you're like, wait, hang on, and it's almost like amnesia, Alzheimer's, dementia, spiritually speaking. And this is something that some human brains can take so much in the physical world, in this particular physical world, this one, because it's very dense in some aspects. When I was doing peyote, the grandfather came to me. I saw his beautiful aquamarine eyes with this wizened, ancient brown nutty face, He looked almost Aboriginal, come to think of it. I just realized that just now. And just on a side note, let me say this. I preface this with, I found one of my Liliths, if you know what I'm saying. I found one of my Liliths, met her. She had the palest blue eyes I've ever seen. And I remember saying, you are a Lilith. She started laughing her head off because she could totally connect with that concept. And then we started exchanging stories about ayahuasca and grandfather, and she described the same exact face. So anyway, with that said, so it was not a subjective experience, it's an objective. So grandfather presents himself with those same aquamarine, teal, magnificent, luminescent eyes, like opalescent eyes. Anyway, so, and he said to me, we really love to help you. We want you guys to ascend. Guys, we want you to ascend. He didn't say guys. We want you to ascend, all of you. But to come into 3D is like going through boulders of rock and cement and more boulders of rock. It is very hard for us to come here to this frequency. It is heavy. It is like going through multiple walls of boulders of rocks. And so we want you to ascend. We need you to ascend as soon as possible. That was the message. Now, about 2 years later, after this first ayahuasca ceremony, right, I'm watching a thing with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's being interviewed by Lilou Mas, Lilou, Lilou, Mas, Mace. And you can look it up on YouTube, thank God, but you have to write exactly what I'm going to tell you. It's saying, it's called Dr. Joe Dispenza Working with Giant Lilou Mas, and you will find the video, okay? Anyway, in the interview, he has to come clean that there are light beings, titanic light beings, who they always follow him, but anyway, who work with him in this healing room. Apparently the 6 days retreat, if you have some kind of physical ailments or whatever, you're picked in a lottery and you're brought to this healing room. And in this healing room are these titanic giants. You don't see them clearly, obviously, but because again, our 3D eyes, we can't see the frequency. Okay. And you'll see at the end of the video, it's a 58-minute video. At the end, there will be 2 testimonials of 2 women describing what happens to them. But anyway, they come to him telepathically, obviously, and say, look, the room is very low vibration. Could you please raise the frequency of the room? Now, listen to the way he says. The giants say to him, because we love ourselves. Did you hear this? We love ourselves too much to lower our frequency anymore, because if we lower our frequency any more than this, we will lose. Did you get this? We will lose our consciousness. We will lose our consciousness. So can you please raise the vibration of the room? Wow. Holy shit. The grandfather had just told me the exact same thing, like basically 2 years previous. So here was confirmation again. We will lose our consciousness if we lower our frequency anymore, and we love ourselves. Did you hear that? We love ourselves too much to do that. It's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, they're willing to heal us, but we gotta get on our tiptoes and reach out to them. There's just so much they can do. So sometimes when your twin flame is in a low vibration, Very, very low. Be very careful. Clean your energy. Make sure you clean your energy. Do I connect to guides? Well, yeah, I do. Yes, I do. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I do. Yes, but so do you. The difference between me and other people is that I listen and I trust, and I've developed an understanding of corrupted downloads, corrupted concepts, corrupted guides as well. I've been tapping into energy since, as I kind of shared, since I was like, fuck, I mean, 2 years old. I was tapping on people's energies, and I didn't know that's what I was doing. That would have been like 1964. So again, and in Paris, no less. So Paris, what I love about Paris, about the French, being half French myself, is it's a Catholic country that's atheist. It's like fucking, so they really don't believe in much. Let me put it that way. So when you meet a French person that is spiritual, I mean, spiritual, and I don't mean New Age, not that bullshit New Age. I'm talking about ancient wisdom that goes back beyond this planet's understanding and consciousness. It's rare. But when they are spiritualists, they're badasses. They're because they've had to go through massive shit. So I was seeing shit and feeling stuff, and in a timeline where, let me just put it this way, was not accepted. This was not California, Malibu, 1960s, 70s. Woohoo, kumbaya. Let's do some yoga. No, that was not Paris. Okay. So the fact that I was able to do that had a lot to do with my father, who was a psychic, a straight up psychic, meaning when he was about, I think he was 18, 18 or 19, and he lived in New Jersey. He was about to get drafted in the war, and he looked into a man's eyes who he didn't really know. It was just a neighborhood person, and he saw exactly how they were going to die, and 3 days later, they died exactly how he saw it, and that freaked him out. And so he shut down. He said, I shut it down. His grandmother, who raised him, was massively psychic and a very powerful woman. And so there was a lot of this energies that were already in the DNA. So when we choose these incarnations, sometimes we choose families, as you know, like psychic energy runs in a family, witch bloodlines, wicked bloodlines run in families. And so we'll incarnate into these lineages to have like a more open portal within that understanding. So I think part of the reason why, this was happening, where I was able to align with connecting with my guides, was because I just, So I'll give you an example of one of my guides. So when I was 3-4 years old, from the age of 2 to 4, I had this woman. I thought it was a real person. It turns out it never was. It was one of my guides. She had red hair. This is where you'll see my videos with a lot of red hair. She had red hair, red lipstick, beautiful red lipstick. That, red hair, red lipstick, beautiful combination. And a green boucle, like a Chanel, green though. It was a lime green boucle suit. And I thought it was my grandmother for years. Long story short, she would knit me green outfits for my dolls. She never existed. No one knows who the fuck I've been talking about. I was talking about this for years, a little girl. They didn't know. So you can call it an imaginary friend, but clearly that was not so. She was a guide. She is a guide to this day. And she was coming to, keep me company. I was a very lonely, lone wolf little wolf cub. And I spent hours and hours alone reading. I was a voracious reader. By the time I was 4.5, I was reading crazy and drawing. Lots and lots of art, constantly. And I was very much what you would call a daydreamer. I daydreamed a lot. And I was fascinated by animals and plants and trees and all of that. And so I was connecting to my guides from an early age, and I was never told that I was crazy or that there was something wrong. No one actually said, you're crazy, you're making it up. People just said, there's no one in our family that has red hair. It's like, that's when I realized, oh shit, that was a guide all along. So, but we all have guides. My son was seeing his guides. He had 3 guides. He still has them. And 2 of them are South American, and one of them is North American, native people, right? And I remember him showing me when he was 8 years old. He said, "There, do you see her? There she is by the cornfield." And it was right outside our window in our garden. And I remember looking at it, and I actually saw a woman with long braids and feathers in her hair and skins on her body. She was waving at it, and I went, "Holy shit! I just saw it." I went and I told my son, "She has this, that, and the other," and she's wearing these colors, and he was confirming. So it's just about believing. It's just about being in that consciousness of belief for you to actually see, like quote unquote, see your guides. And it's interesting too, because I remember it's almost like having sunglasses. Do you know what I'm saying? When you have sunglasses at night, how it looks like that when you see them, when you actually see them. Or when you close your eyes, it's a whole different experience. I see my guide, my particular guide that's been my guide for eons, massive incarnations. And he comes to me, and he is a masculine. But from what I understand, some guides will come to you, different genders, for different reasons during your incarnations, because you may need more of a masculine in one incarnation, right? Because after all, our souls are androgynous, let's not forget. And sometimes they'll come as a feminine because you need that more than anything. And then, of course, you have your teachers that incarnate. They'll never be your lovers, but they are your teachers, and they come and they'll incarnate as your child, as your grandchild, as your uncle, and they will be there to support you and to love you and to make sure that you don't feel alone, because being a starseed is not fun. It can be very difficult. I'm with my twin, but the pull of the soulmate is becoming overpowering no matter how much I ignore. I'm with my twin. Well, first of all, Kim, you can love more than two people, number one. And the pull of your soulmate, there could be two reasons for that. One, the person you think is your twin is your soulmate, and the person that you think is your soulmate is your twin, number one. Or you could have massive unfinished business, meaning you've got a contract with your with the soulmate that you're calling your soulmate, that you're having this unbelievable pull because there's a contract experience to you know what I mean, to launch into. So it's one or the other. You know what I'm saying? So you need to kind of, Kim, twin flame or twin ray? No. Twin flame or twin ray? Can I just tell you that there are very few twin rays? There's 144 at every given time. 144, not 144,000 like there is with twin flames. 144. That's it. At any given time. So to be a twin ray, there's a certain types of consciousness. Be honest with yourself, okay? But and what I mean by be honest is like I don't mean like put yourself down, but be honest. Are you consciously a twin ray? And what that means is, are you like Mary Magdalene? Are you like Yeshua? Are you like Buddha? Are you like, Buddha walked away from massive wealth, massive love, everything he needed, everything he wanted to get self-realized. Are you that person? Seriously, be honest with yourself. Do you give, but do you overgive not because of lack of self-love, but because it gives you pleasure and you see the benefits of giving to others? Do you see yourself in that light? And are you walking that path? Be honest with yourself. I'm definitely a twin flame. Okay? In union. My beautiful twin flame is a twin. He's a flame. He's all fire. He's all that. And he is dying. And the fire is still within his eyes. But for him, death is the release, a surrender. And it's very, very difficult for me to watch. But it's also very difficult for me to watch that he can't do what he could do with effortlessness, with ease last year. It's like it's not, you know what I mean? But that essence of his soul, which I saw in other planets, that fire he's always had, that fierce independence he's always had in other incarnations, from all these past lives on this planet and other planets that I've seen, I've remembered, I've actually seen those incarnations as sentient beings, humanoids, like same fire, but we are flames. There was a time, and I remembered that very well. In fact, the grandfather medicine, a past life that we had that began our fall from twin rays to twin flame. He showed me the fall and why the fall happened. And the fall happened, and I'm not going to get into it today because it's pretty intense and it's pretty woohoo, and I would never share that on a public forum. That's like at some point I'll write it. I have written about it, but I will put it publicly. And it is a fall. It's very connected to the bastardization of the book of Enoch, which is a bastardization of what actually happened. And the book of Enoch, again, written by men with their own fucking fears and problems. A lot of problems. Yeah, angels then come down to make love to women. That's the Sumerian tablets. That's Zachariah Stitchin's books on the Sumerian text, and it talks about the Anunnaki coming in and creating hybrid races as we know ourselves to be today. And we were also souls who were these same Anunnaki. Many of us were there on higher platforms of dimensions, playing around with genetics. You know what I mean? And now, there's certain things that happen to some of us where we lost our consciousness being in 3D. The arrogance is that we thought we wouldn't forget. And what's beautiful about these starseeds being born from 1997 to now, and you'll see a stronger strain of starseeds coming in as we speak, who come in fully aware, fully like remembering. I like fucking everything. And these little tiny little childlike voices speaking massive esoteric wisdoms and ancient knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And the sad part, and I've come across some of them, not to bemerge them, the Bible Belt, but let's just call it these starseeds are dropped in the middle of the Bible Belt. Imagine having what I just described to you, of seeing guides, of having downloads of past lives, of all this shit happening, right? And then trying to convince a family that you're not crazy, and then putting you on all kinds of pharma to lobotomize your soul, basically, right? That's horrific. I remember talking a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old on a reading when I was working for this company called Psychic Source, and I basically said I had to, unfortunately, that's why I stopped working for them, because it was insane. It was a 33-minute reading, and I was talking him off the ledge, and I'm not joking. I mean, quite literally, it's not a fucking metaphor. And telling him that he was not crazy, that he had to get a job, like maybe 2 jobs, save all his fucking money, and get the fuck out of that area, because it was never going to support him. He needed to go to places where people believed, like find a community like you that believes in you. That's why it's so important for us to have communities for starseeds, and kind of advertise it, let other people know, hey, on this. In fact, there's a place, I forgot what the hell it is, but somewhere in the Northeast where there is a community of spiritual people who live together. I know in Scotland there's communities like that. Glastonbury is a community like that. You've got assholes. You're going to always have assholes in all communities. That's just how it is. But in Glastonbury, it's called aka Avalon. There's a huge community. Everyone knows. You want to be with spiritual people? Wiccas to spiritualists to this, to that, to this, and all. Yeah, go to Glastonbury, live there. And it's very popular, and people go there for 2-3 day retreats, or some people go for a week, and it's well known in the spiritual community. That's one community. Bali's another community where people go to Bali to be with other spiritualists. So my point is, we need more of those communities so people can go and feel like they're home. Like, holy fuck, I'm home. I've got people I can talk about. I may not agree with everything they're saying, right? But I'm with people I can more relate to than people who are going to suppress me and call me the devil. Going back to Doreen Virtue, where she went back to Yeshua, and I went off the track here for a little minute, but the point is, Doreen Virtue, when she decided that it was all devil shit, you can love Yeshua. I love Yeshua. I have Yeshua on my wall, just so you know. But I also have Krishna on my wall. And I have Radha on my wall. And I've been looking for a good Mary Magdalena, a really good one, a beautiful statue, something that looks like Mary Magdalena, not Mother Mary. No offense to Mother Mary. I love her. I call my house Mary. My house's name is Mary, after actually Mother Mary. But what I'm trying to say to you is that you can love these beautiful, high, oh my God, transcendental, unbelievable human beings that walked, that were human, that volunteered to help awaken people, and they found, there was a German scientist. I'm trying to remember if he was an anthropologist or I don't know, but anyway, he went into Tibetan in the 1991 and 1997, around this time. Excuse me, my tea went down the wrong track. But anyway, sorry about that. But a German found in a Tibetan monastery, he found the name of Yeshua in some scrolls. Can you imagine Yeshua? I mean, literally Yeshua. I mean, it wasn't some other name. So clearly Yeshua didn't just go to India, which a lot of people understand that to be true, but he traveled all the way to Tibet, ceiling of the world, and connected with these incredible monks and these ideas. Now, I don't know if you guys know that, but the monks, Tibetan monks, have these long trumpets that hit the ground. They're like trumpets. And it's reported that they were using those trumpets, the frequency of those trumpets, to raise items off the ground, like massive monoliths off the ground, to move them, that they could use. So sound frequency, more and more, if you've ever looked at sound frequency, say what it does with sacred geometry and geometric patterns, you'll see a table with sand, right? And then underneath it will be the frequency that's resonating from underneath the table, and suddenly you'll see all these incredible, complex geometric patterns coming, forming from the sand. So I mean, it's not like we don't know what the hell's going on, but we're not connecting the dots to the importance of frequency in our day-to-day life. And so when you have like these little sounds, like I'll hear clients sometimes, and I'll tell them, listen, you gotta stop. They'll have like fire alarms in their house, and the battery apparently is out or whatever, and it'll just keep beeping and that is not good for anyone's nervous system. And I'll tell them, listen, you need to get a fucking battery, man, or fucking turn it off. I mean, I'm not telling you to turn off your fire alarm, but I'm saying that's not good for the nervous system. People do this shit constantly. People will have the TV on with news and background because they're so afraid of silence. My house is filled with silence constantly. It's not a monastery, it's not an abbey. It's a place of light. It's a place of calm and peace. We have essential oils going, like eucalyptus, or we'll have things like oranges in our little humidifiers that explode this incredible perfume in the air. And then we'll play like low frequency, high frequency, but low, on a low level, sound. You know what I mean? So that if there is music in the house, it's usually 999 hertz or 528 hertz or whatever, right? Or with whales, that kind of the frequency of whales. And the frequency of whales is coming up again. So something else that came across my feed recently, which is really actually scaring me. It's the only thing that's ever scared me to this level of concern, where whales are beaching themselves and screaming, literally wailing in pain. And they're saying they're wailing in pain because we've got some SOBs out there. Again, these scientists with these, the kind of scientists that test medical shit on beagles, right? On monkeys, on beagles. We're still playing, we just need to test on animals. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. We've got AI that can actually test on it. And there are people that would, volunteer. Let's be honest, okay? So for me, it's like insane. Not to mention they've tested on actual human beings without their consent, as we know. That's on another, I've mentioned that many times with the Tuskegee debacle. But anyway, going back to the point of the whales. So the whales are beaching themselves because you've got some arrogant know-it-all who know nothing, testing all kinds of shit in the ocean, and the dolphins, the whales are freaking the fuck out because it's almost like an explosion in their eardrums. I'm going to say it like that, in their eardrums, and they're unable to comprehend what's going on, and they're beaching themselves. It's almost like they're running from a predator, and the predator is a wrong, fucked up frequency. Now that I've said that, listen to this, because this is heavy. So Star Trek, back in the 80s, did a show. I've mentioned it many times before. And this show was, it wasn't a show, it was a movie, Star Trek. So it's the version, I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s, very early 90s. And it's Spock and Kirk going back to Earth in the 80s to SeaWorld. It's a ha-ha, wink-wink type of, But apparently the planet Earth, back, I'm going to say 3,000 years into the future, has lost their last whale. And the minute the frequency of the whale, because it's dead, stops, the planet Earth starts dying. They realize, holy fuck, it's the frequency of the whale. We need whales. Jim, we need whales. So Dr. Spock and go into a time warp into the past, right? Into the 80s, go to SeaWorld, and they find a male and female whale, okay? Sperm whale, something like that. I don't know, something insane. Whatever type of whale, blue whale, I don't know whales, okay? Except that I think they're amazing. And they airlift them back 3,000 years into the future, drop him into the ocean, and boom, the planet just starts. It's almost like a machine stopped moving. It's like the clock stopped ticking, and it was rewound. And boom, they drop the ocean, the whales in the ocean. The frequency starts reverberating across the ocean planet, across all continents and so forth. And the planet starts going boom, boom. The heartbeat of the Earth starts hitting boom, boom, boom. And they saved the planet because the whales were needed to keep the planet balanced. Frequency is more important than you'll ever understand. And you need to study frequency. You need to understand it in your meditation. You need to seek, run, chase frequency that heals you. That is going to be very, very important in this incarnation, especially with your children. If you're lucky enough to see your grandchildren born, make sure that frequency is part of your training and teaching to your your kids. I'm going to say, honestly, at this point, if you want Luke Skywalkers, if you want to raise Robin Hoods, if you want to raise high frequency, beautiful souls into their full power, who are not going to have anxiety or fear or whatever, then you're going to have to train them like Jedi Knights. That's what I've just been told to tell you, like Jedi Knights, meaning knights, like Knights Templar, meaning like high priests and priestesses, meaning with the understanding as they grow up of their importance to the greater good, not to themselves. You don't want to raise a little idiot, okay, into arrogant, narcissistic behaviors. You want to raise a Jedi. You want to raise a child that understands that they are here to be of service to the planet. And that the part of being a service to the planet is to love themselves. It's to love themselves with the kind of love that is not based on what they look like and what they accomplish in terms of schoolwork, because that's all bullshit, but in terms of what they accomplish within themselves. If you see your 5-year-old saying, I just meditated for world peace, bravo. That's what we're talking about. If you've got your kids saying, I've been meditating with my guide and my guide's showing me about this, that, and the other, bravo. That's it. I've been meditating with my guide and mommy, they're teasing me at school and I don't know what to do. And my guide's told me to do this and that. Guide your child or your grandchild, because I think where we're being shown here is that the kids coming in need our protection. It's almost like, when you plant fruit trees and you see them surround the fruit trees with a gate, like a chicken wire around the fruit trees until they become mature. Yeah, that's what we need to do until they're strong enough to fend for themselves and to be magnificent knights, starseeds, protectors of the realm called planet Earth. And thank God many more of these weird The servants of the Anunnakis, the servants of the draconian regime are passing away. They're living until they're 98, 98. It's like, what are you afraid of, dude? I mean, 98, you can barely fucking, it's like, no offense. My grandmother lived until she was 94. It's all good. But what I mean is some of them, you can tell, like for Queen Elizabeth, like clearly, like, what are you holding on to? You know what I mean? It's like, come on. And some of them are afraid, to be honest with you. There's a part of them that have this fear of, I've done so much fuckery. What happens when I drop this body? So they hang on, hang on, hang on. It's not the frequency of a centurion that's had a wonderful life, been kind, loving, generous, and just has enjoyed seeing the evolution of planet Earth, from the fax machine to airplanes in the sky. Those kinds of people are amazing to talk to and to be with. But when you have a 1% who just go on and on and on, it's like, holy shit. I mean, what are you afraid of? Yeah, and it's because they've done like Kissinger. I remember seeing Anthony Bourdain talk about he was like, I think Kissinger was something that was a great example of someone who just held on and held on for the wrong reasons. Let's put it that way, to give you an idea, when you harm people. And I remember Anthony Bourdain said that everywhere he went, I loved Anthony Bourdain. I did a reading on him just to see if he had, if some weird stuff had happened to him. And and sadly, I came back from the reading shocked, to be honest. I was expecting some kind of conspiracy. But to be honest, no, he did take himself out. He couldn't do this anymore. It just, some souls... So let me give you an example of why I know this. Well, first of all, the reading told me, and I was like, I did it twice. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no conspiracy? Nope, he did that. Okay, so I was like, okay, so then I came across a video where he's being interviewed at a restaurant with his French buddy, his French chef buddy. I don't know. If you guys follow Anthony Bourdain, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But anyway, he says to his friend, every country I've been to, I've seen the mark and damage of Kissinger. Every country I've been to, I know that Kissinger was here with his policies and his bullshit. So he saw a lot of injustice. He saw a lot of really bad things. And if you see his stance on Palestine, one of the famous quotes that finally came out when this fuckery went on and on and on and continues, sadly, he said, everything is made in China except courage that's made in Palestine. So that's one of his quotes. So he was very much against injustice. And because he traveled amongst the people, in other words, his idea of good food, which is true and it's wise, because I've traveled all over the world and it's true, where you find the best food is with the people. It's not the high level restaurants. So yeah, that's a good experience, don't get me wrong, but with the people. And when you're with the people in a third world situation, which we call third world for really the wrong reasons, because it's by design. Okay, just on the side note, I could go on and on that one, but let's not. And it really hurt him. He was a highly creative and highly sensitive man. If you've ever read his book Kitchen Confidential, that put him on the map, you'll understand what I mean. Highly spiritual, highly irreverent. Basically, he reminds me of my son. It's just the same type of cleverness, irreverence, the fuck you attitude, but really deeply wounded by what he's seeing and trying to act like it doesn't really bother him. So you'd be surprised with some of these young starseeds. Be very aware of your starseeds, brothers and sisters, because some of them will not tell you they're hurting. However, they're suffering. Okay, let's listen to your comments here. Oh, hello. Oh my God, that's me. It makes me so happy to do things like that. People don't understand. It brings so much peace. It's easy to be kind, and anything else makes me feel so heavy. You're a beautiful soul. I feel I need to find mine. I feel so lost and starved of information I'm looking for. Let me ask you, what do you mean find yours? Tell me more. I think what he saw really messed him up. It really messed him up. Exactly. Hey, James, it's good to see you. Yes, it messed him up. It did. How could you not? I remember living in Hong Kong. I lived in the Excelsior Hotel. When I mean I lived, I'm not kidding. I lived for 2.5 months. And so we had just moved to Hong Kong. I think it was hang on, let me see. 1975. So we moved to Hong Kong in 1975, 1974, because I went to school there. Anyway, and I remember living in this hotel. We had our own valet. We had our own, I'm not joking. My dad was very successful, but we had our own valet. And we had our own suites of apartments. We had the presidential suite for 2.5 months. And we lived like fucking, And it was during the monsoon season, and I remember walking out of the hotel, and I literally right outside, like steps outside the hotel, you'd see a person with no arms and no legs begging for alms. You'd see people living on the bay, on Hong Kong Bay. And I remember my father saying they have never lived anywhere else but on those boats. I think they've cleaned that up since then. But in those days, you would see that. You would see poverty like you've never seen before. When we lived in Africa, I remember levels of poverty. When we lived in Algeria, my mother told me of a couple that came over for dinner, and they had brought their little slave girl. She was 10 years old. I kid you not. Fucking slave. This is 1960s. And how they would not feed her. And my mom, no, she's eating right here with us. You're not doing that. And my father, who was one of these people, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. She was like, yeah, fuck you. We're not doing anything like that. Not okay. So she, it's when you see this and you see it in action, it will. And he saw more than what I just described is just the tip of the iceberg. He was in the trenches of those countries. He would go and his long-legged ass would take long walks in those countries at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, exploring all of its ugliness and wounded beauty, right? And during that time, I think he absorbed so much, and he realized that the system was so corrupt, and he had been around the 1%, obviously, right? Of course he was. And he saw the fuckery of the 1%, and he saw the arrogance. Can you imagine going from the Hamptons to being in Thailand and seeing little children? I'm not going to go into, you get my drift, okay? And seeing the absolute imbalance. And unfortunately, he loved fiercely, and he kept. It sounds to me like his first wife was probably the person he might have wanted to stay with. I don't know what happened, but it looked like he kept going for what looked good or what seemed exotic or interesting, and that was his downfall. And in particular, when the masculine goes for what looks a certain way or what is sensual, instead of really going with men need to learn how to close their eyes and see with their hearts. And that is a direct, I'm sorry, now I'm speaking to men. Yes, you guys need to learn how to do that. Close your fucking eyes and go within. Because the problem with Anthony Bourdain is that if he had had a good partner, I doubt he would have been in this place of despair. He did not know who he had no one to talk to. And the last woman he was with was very much connected to, still is connected to what's this bitch called who does spirit cooking? She's a known witch. Spirit cooking. People have disappeared under weird circumstances under her little, her little shows that are always very macabre and very dark, very evil. And his girlfriend was part of that group. And his girlfriend was a cold ass bitch. And he should have closed his eyes and listened to his heart. And I think that he was volatile in his emotions, meaning he was very much impatient. And men have to stop. And she might be, I'm just going to jump into the Bridgerton show. I don't know if you guys are watching the Bridgerton show, but Penelope is overweight. Beautiful girl, don't get me wrong, but she's massively overweight. She's probably needs to lose 70, 80, 90 pounds, right? And the show for 2 seasons just goes into her being in love with this guy called Colin. And finally, one day he sees her, but he sees her by kissing her. And the kiss is very much twin flames where you go, holy fuck, wait, hang on, what just happened? It's a twin flame kiss, right? And that particular part of that show, the other 2 series, they're nice. I love it. Yes, good. Diamond of the First Water, all that shit. We love it. Yes, it was wonderful. But that one is very interesting because the last show, or at least the show 3, shows a woman who's being desired and loved by, a man who could have any woman he wants, and here he is in love with, he's crazy about her smell, her taste, her look, Doesn't matter that she's 70 pounds. Why overweight or 80 pounds overweight or whatever, 100, like whatever, you know. It's that he sees her. And that's love. And that's also a twin flame problem, because in twin flames, what happens with the dynamics of the masculine, because they've been trained to see, there's an old saying, men fall in love with their eyes, women with their ears. Well, what that means is men fall in love with what they see. Oh, I fell in love at first sight. Now, there's some men who actually have fallen in love, and it had nothing to do with what the girl looked like or woman. It had to do with a soul connection, and they saw it immediately. Those men are out there, and they're rare. However, most men fall in love. They use the word love for lust. They fell in lust. Now, there's going to be some beautiful women out there, women that you can't even imagine are real, for real. I mean, just fucking stunning. But what's interesting about women who are massively beautiful and everything's been given to them is that they haven't had to develop character, bravery. I'm not joking. I'm not just saying that to be a bitch. I'm saying that because it's just how it is. Just think with your noodles. That a woman who hasn't had any problems hasn't developed. So what's interesting about Penelope is that, and remember, you know, these stories that we're watching on Bridgerton, probably that's the first story I've seen that's actually a real fucking story many women can relate to. So she's developed. Because she wasn't in there, you know, because she was overweight. She wasn't pretty. She wasn't, you know what I mean? But she developed something. And I remember the first time she makes love to Colin, he says, no, I'll do everything. She's a virgin. And she says, no, I want to know. What can I do? And it says a lot. Because I've been very blessed, I guess, to have many alpha males around me. My father, my brother, my son, my husband, my twin, massive alpha males in different levels of what I mean by alpha. But all of them have said one thing that was interesting. Beautiful women aren't very active in bed. Not very at all, because they figure, hey, here I am. So women that have had some issues, you know, like a weight problem or bulimia or anorexia or trauma of other kinds, develop something in themselves. Something happens to their personality, you know, where they have to develop courage, develop integrity, develop a personality, develop solutions, creativity. And it's interesting when I look at Brooke Shields, who was handed the world. She was a beautiful girl. I mean, absolutely magnificent face and so forth. She developed later on in life. Liz Taylor was beautiful, but she married Nicky Hilton and he was beating her up at 18. She was 18. She was getting her ass kicked up and down, okay, while she was pregnant. So even though in the beginnings of her life, she had some, you know, the world was her oyster, at a very young age, she developed something. What was the problem? She was being physically and mentally abused. That right there developed a personality and a character. So that by the time she met Richard Burton, her twin flame, she was in her 30s and she had developed a lot since then. She had lost her high-level soulmate, Mike Todd, in a plane accident. He was the love of her life. I think she had like 2 or 3 kids I think 2 kids from him. And it was a plane accident. They were fucking in love. They were absolutely decoupled in that period. So she developed because of loss, because of health issues, because of all kinds of things. And so that's character. So it's interesting. Let me see here. Let me read your comments. I think what he saw really messed him up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I read that. Hello, peace to all. Yes, Liz Taylor loved him. Yeah, they loved each other. They were mad about each other. But the problem is they had alcohol. I think, honestly, I'm a big believer that in their case, alcohol destroyed their connection. Alcohol, being famous, she had handlers, he had handlers. They were probably gossiping and manipulating them, and there's jealousy. You know, and when people are that in love with each other, in love and love each other, he was writing her love letters and letters every single day until the day he died. And I shared that letter with some of my clients because I wanted them to see what a twin flame. It is the best letter I've ever read on a twin flame speaking to a masculine twin, telling his twin flame feminine, this is what you make me feel. And I'm paraphrasing big time. Big time. One of them that he said was, you are my darkness, you are my light. You are my dove and you are my crow. And everything has nothing. Nothing means anything. There's no nectar, is what he was saying to her. Everything is damp. And I want to be the shadow of your hand. He was just fucking, that was his last letter to her. Will you let me come? I am like a sailor adrift. Let me come to the safety of your harbor. I'm paraphrasing massively. He loved her, but they couldn't live together because they had not done the spiritual work, because they were not there. Colin Farrell was friends with her, and they would talk for hours on the phone. He said, I would have married that woman. She had a massive personality. Massive personality. And she had developed all of that because of grief. Grief makes us develop. Khalil Gibran talks about, tell us of sadness. And he talks about sadness. He talks about why sadness is important for you to be able to fill your cup. So sadness carves holes into your heart, so then it can be like wells filled with the nectar of love. The deeper the holes in your heart, the losses, the deeper your capacity to fill your heart with more nectar of love. Well, anyway, moving on. Again, read the room, please. Read the room. Before you ask a question, read the room. It's kind of like going at a party and they're talking about cryptocurrency and you want to talk about reincarnation. It doesn't. It's not a good. It's not a good thing. It's not good. You don't want to do that. Or walking into a conversation where they're talking about reincarnation and ascension, and you want to talk about crypto and Bitcoin. Read the room. Always learn how to read the room. Okay, Jenna, read the room. All right. So, any other questions? Outside influences. I want to ask something about TFs. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. Ask me about TFs because that's right up. I appreciate that. Go ahead and type it in if you can. Any other questions on that are coming up? Any other? Thank you for the love, guys. And I just, me. I'm kind of tough. What else did I want to talk to you about? So when you look at the relationship between Mike Todd and Liz Taylor, you're going to see a high level soulmate. He protected her. He loved her. He was Big Daddy. He was like Big Daddy, right? And when he tragically passed away, in the plane accident, Eddie Fisher was just whatever, and it was obvious. Eddie Fisher had nothing for her. In other words, he was crazy about her, but it was all ego flexing and all that. It was a distraction. It was a karmic. You want to call it a karmic? It was a karmic, which I called lessons. That was obvious. When you look at Iman and David Bowie, when you ask her, well, how is it to be a widow? I'm not a widow. I'm still married to David Bowie. I'm still married to my husband, is what she says. That's a twin ray. Not every twin ray is going to be of service. The service that they provided to the world was to see a biracial couple. I'm being straight up. We saw a man, David Bowie, who was bisexual. He went through every fucking thing you can go through, which interestingly enough, twin flame masculines go through, or feminines. It depends, right? And so the twin flame masculine is going through the drug addiction, right? David Bowie, have you followed his career? So Ziggy Pop, all that shit, all the shit he was doing. He was definitely bisexual. He was doing all kinds of drugs. I don't think there's a drug he did not do. He was looking at Aleister Crowley. He was trying to find his shit. And then one day he sees Iman. It's a friend that hooks them up. And he knows right off the bat, I'm going to marry this woman. This is the love of my life. He knew, boom, instantly. And I don't think it was just because he saw her beauty, though her beauty is out. When she was at her heyday, my God, it was outer worldly. It looked like which was interesting because he looked like something from another planet. So long story short, they hook up. They never separate from the time they're together. and they have the amazing, massive love affair throughout their whole entire marriage, and they have a child. And so this was a big, big deal for this white man to fall in love with this beautiful African woman. And they became, to this day, she lives up in the Catskills, by the way. She has a house there that David Bowie had bought. And she said during COVID, she was totally there. She decided to do the lockdown, in the Catskills in her house. And she said she saw David everywhere. And it helped her heal. But she's still married. That means she's still connecting with him. She's realizing that he might not physically be around, but he's still around. He's still her beloved. That's not going to end. And for some women, that is a truth. Some women, after the loss of their twin, will never recover. In other words, they're not looking for another man to replace that person. Some twin flames have massive work to do, and they will be given a companion to continue on their journey. I'm just telling you, everyone's different, okay? It's not an I live near the Catskills. So do I do too, Budsy. Yeah, Eddie was a rebound for her grief. You're right. I appreciate you and your energy. You're very kind, my love. What's the topic? Everything. The topic's everything. It's everything. Let me see. I believe in it all. Frequency are every day, low key, but it's always there. Exactly. So anyway, she lives in the Catskills, and Uma Thurman lives in the Catskills too. She has a little farm there, and there's a vegan restaurant right there. I forgot the damn name of but Leah Haas is the chef. If you look up Leah Haas, she's the chef of that vegan restaurant there, and Uma Thurman goes down to eat vegan. And people will actually go to the restaurant not knowing it's a vegan restaurant and go, "Can I have that with the chicken?" And they have to tell them, "No, no chicken here." And many people walk out of that restaurant going, "Oh my God, if I could fucking cook like this every day, I'd be a vegan." So I forgot the name of the restaurant, but Leah Haas, look it up and you should be able to find the restaurant. And it's in Woodstock proper. But anyway, what was I talking about? No, so we're talking reincarnation. How can it not happen? There's only so many notes in a song. Exactly. I agree with that. Any other comments or questions? There was somebody who wanted to ask me a question about TFs, and you haven't typed it in yet. At least I don't see it. So let me know if you want me to answer that question. So you got examples of twin flames. You've got example of twin rays, and the more examples will come as we progress through this journey in this incarnation. And so be aware of your frequency. Be aware of space. Be aware of light. Right now, I'm sitting in my mudroom and I am painting my room, but this room in a very pale butter, a very pale, like Devonshire cream. That's the color I'm gonna call it. Devonshire cream with white frame. Now this room had all these weird, you know how you have these fake wood paneling, which I fucking 1960s type of shit. So I've decided to paint it, and the difference in the energy and the light. So you want your space to be, something that makes you smile. So if there's a room in your house that you don't like, right? Do something about it. Get some paint and slap some coats of paint, and you'd be shocked at how your own mood changes from the transformation of a room. It's shocking. Get plants. Hang some plants from your ceiling. Shit like that. If you have a house and you can set up a hammock in somewhere in your house, do it. Just do shit that makes you happy. Don't think about people. What I loved about me and my twin when we were traveling throughout this country, every place we had was for very little money. We found the most amazing places to rent with incredible views. Like I've told you before, we used to live in Malibu. We had rented a room for $1,000 a month. In Malibu, that's fucking unheard of. But anyway, we rented a room, and every day at 7:30 in the morning, we were out on the beach on Zuma next to Pirates Cove running a mile a day every morning. Then after that, we go to the swimming pool and do laps. Then after that, we'd have lunch. Or meditate or whatever, right? We meditate and do all kinds of stuff, make love, whatever, right? We were having an amazing time. Every single place we've ever lived at, incredible views. But one of the things we've always done, which I love about us, is that we would never use the bedrooms. The bedrooms were used for meditation or for putting books or storing our luggage, we always use the living room as our bedroom, always. And the reason is because the living rooms always had more windows, and we were interested in views. Like we had a place in Troy, New York that literally overlooked the Hudson River, literally, boom, right there. If you, it looked like we were on a cruise ship. I'm not kidding. We're, boom, there was the river. And we had a tree where we'd have raccoons coming and bald eagles landing, all kinds of stuff. We would have missed all that had we been in the bedroom. So when you create your space, um, and I'm still doing that now. I really don't care if people are walking into the living room and it turns out to be my bedroom. I prefer lots of light. So bedrooms to me are so limiting, you know? Like bedrooms seem to be so small. And I love living rooms. So until I could get a house with a massive, like for real master bedroom, that's how I guess I'm gonna live. But like do what you like, you know? I live next to the Hudson River. How cool is that? The same play repeats itself in a grand scale. Culture, technology, morals may change, but the play is the same. Very, I agree. It can be as until you change the vibration. And my fear for people when you are dying is to make sure that you practice, meaning you practice chanting, so that when you are, whether it's like you know, no one knows how we're going to go, we each have our own way, but if you're going to die on your deathbed, chant so that the frequency is raised. If you die suddenly, like I remember my twins friend Roy, and again, the connection with our souls is amazing. My high level soulmate husband, his best friend was Roy. My twin flame's best friend was Roy. Both of them died in motorcycle accidents. But the story my twin flame tells me is that his friend Roy had been hit by a truck and was crushed under, but he was alive. He was still alive. And he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he died with that on his lips. So he was on a high frequency of receiving his transformation. And so the frequency of where you're at when you're about to drop your body is important. It's extremely important. It's all frequency. And what catapults you out of your body is also, and where you're going to be catapulted to is going to have a lot to do with where you're at in your frequency, in your mind. And so chanting mantras, this is why me and Andromeda Flame are constantly preaching chant, learn different mantras that soothe you, that help you, you know. Uh, when I chant with my drum, Hare Krishna, I start crying and I start seeing Rama, actually, Rama running in the woods with his quiver and bow, and with Sita. And I just start crying. I see them laughing and running in the woods and just playing like children, like hide and seek. And I don't know why. That's always the image I see when I start drumming and chanting. And so find a mantra, a chant that gives you joy and that gives you, that really relaxes your nervous system. They'll call it spiritual rhodiola, right? That kind of thing. Anyway, any questions or comments? That's you. Yeah. Any questions or comments? I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your trust. I want to thank you for everything that you are and that you do. Many of you are on your path. You don't even know it yet, but you're being led. Hang on, let me. You're on your path. People ask me, "Am I on my path?" Well, some people aren't. Okay, to be honest, but some of you, if you're in your light, meaning if you are seeking, if you are actively healing yourself, then that is your path. That is your mission right now. That's your mission, to be on that level of conscious healing and asking the universe for answers. That is being on your path. And eventually what happens is that more and more is revealed to you as your progression evolves. It's an evolution. And I mean, that's what happened to me, you know. I was constantly being an awakened, more and more awakened. No one's fully awake. I'm still not fully awake. If I was fully awake, I could see 5D right now with my mortal eyes. I could actually see Like the example that I give people is for right now in your room, there are two men on horseback riding, watching the sun rise. They're in 5D. They're here, right here, but you can't see them. And they can't see you because it's not a frequency match. You see what I'm saying? So working on raising your conscious frequency, your subconscious frequency, training your monkey mind not to be a parasitical energy, but to be a servant to your soul, a servant is going to be important. So much of this resonates. Thank you. I learned from you always. Oh, thank you, Laura Lee. That's sweet. I'm glad. Well, that's what we do. We share. We share things you already know. Okay? We share things you know. You just don't have the words for it, but you know. And that's why it resonates, because you already know, you have the knowledge. It's been forgotten within you. So spiritual excavation is important. You've got to spiritually excavate, which is through hypnotherapy. There's some trauma. I remember I had massive trauma, people kicking down the doors. I was in my 30s. And I kept having these anxieties of somebody kicking down the door and taking me away. It was the weirdest thing, I swear to you. So I went to my hypnotherapist. This is why I became a hypnotherapist, because after almost damn near 27 years of doing this and finding answers, I said, fuck it, let me become let me learn hypnotherapy. So I studied under the Michael Newton, the guy who wrote Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, that guy. I decided to use his method because I really liked his energy. I loved his eyes. I thought his eyes were very kind, very wise, very beautiful, and I trusted um his evolution. And his evolution was that he was an atheist and then became a spiritualist through his work with clients, through hypnotherapy. He became spiritually awakened through that work. So anyway, I was having this anxiety. So I went to my hypnotherapist, and I said, look, this is what's happening. And I don't know what the hell this is. And so she took me under. And as I went under, I immediately saw myself in a bed in Russia. No doubt it was Russia. I was Jewish. And there I was with my siblings. And we were freezing. It was a dark room, a small window. And some Bolsheviks came in, kicked down the door. It's 1909, thereabouts. I'm 19 years old. I'm getting that energy. And I am, unenlivened, on my knees, in the snow, shivering, asking, what did I do wrong before I dropped my body? And once that happened and I realized, oh my God, this is what this is from. It ended. The anxiety, panic attacks I would have eventually disappeared. And I don't have panic attacks at all anymore. So it was from that life. It was a traumatic ending. It felt like a betrayal, and being a young man, 19-year-old man. So what happens is when you excavate and you want to know why, the soul will give you the answer. It will give you the answer if you truly want it. If you're just like kicking the rocks and you're not really sure you want to know, nothing will happen. You won't even be able to go under. You know what I mean? Because of fear. I'm at the right place at the right time. Well, good. Any other questions or comments? Do you have any questions or comments that you want to share? What else can I tell you that's important for you? Yeah, I mean, every client that I work with, doesn't matter where they are, gets homework. And part of the homework is to learn a mantra or two or three. Another homework aspect is to learn the chakras and understanding the importance of the chakras, chi energy. And when your chakras are dull, or that's what makes me so sad. I'm going to go back to Doreen Virtue. That's what makes me so sad about her being afraid of the devil. She was teaching about chakras, and she used to have a guided meditation on chakras for the morning and the afternoon. I think I'm going to do I just thought of it. I think I'm going to do a couple guided meditations for my Patreon clients. I think I'm going to work on that because that would be important. Because if you can actually do a guided meditation to your chakras, like, right, so you can learn your chakras and charge them, clear and clean them and charge them, that's going to be important to your evolution. It's going to be important to your ascension. Chakras are super critical to your ability to be grounded and to be protected and to be connected to source and to Pachamama, Mother Earth. Your feet are planted on the ground, on human soil. Terra firma, right? With Pachamama, Gaia, Bhumi, the Mother Earth, and connected from the crown chakra to source. And that can't really happen to its full power unless you know how to take care of your chakras. Just like when you were a baby, you were being swaddled and bathed and this, and eventually you grew up to walk and bathe yourself and this and that. You have to learn how to do it yourself. You do not want people's hands on your chakras. You don't want people working on your chakras unless you really trust them with your life. Because you don't want people's own energies to slip into your energetic field through, you know what I'm saying? So I'm really careful with letting people like work on me. In fact, no one works on me anymore. If they work on me, it's remote, and it is what it is. Every blue moon, I'll meet someone who wow, definitely it's a hell yes. But for the most part, I've come to the realization that the best thing you can do is work on yourself. And if you want more support, I would say go to somebody who understands Reiki and understands chi energy, chakra energy, so on and so forth, and get a massage. Sometimes your somatic, your nervous system needs beautiful handling and beautiful nurturing through a massage, human touch to skin, especially if you're celibate. Especially if you're celibate. That is, so you want to, look, take your time finding a good masseuse that can offer you that kind of, healing. But also using Pachamama as your ally and laying down on her body and letting her body heal you, letting things slide off you like oil, sliding off your body onto her loving hands so she can transmute the energy. Ask her to heal you. I do have a video that I posted on TikTok that talks about how to introduce yourself to Pachamama and to apologize for all the fuckery you did in many incarnations, abusing her body, her children of fur, of feathers, of fins, and as you get closer and closer to this journey, you'll stop wanting to eat animal flesh. Not because it's a health issue, because a lot of people, oh, it's a health issue, it's a health issue. I'm like, no, it's a fucking human issue. I will not eat something that fought their ass off to live. I don't want the cortisol. I don't want the karma. I don't want any of that. So for some of you, I'm being told to tell you, usually I don't go there, but I'm going there today. It's for some of you, you may want to try a week with absolutely no animal protein, none. See how you feel. It's the summer. You can do it. And see how you feel. Make sure you have lentil, dal, lentil in your house. Good lentil. The best lentil to buy is tiny French little lentil. So good. And put dates in it. Cut up some dates. Cut up a pear or an apple. Make sure you got some coconut oil in there. Some fennel seeds you've ground up. Fennel, rosemary you've ground up. Throw that in the pot. Let that simmer. The dates are going to just completely decompose and give it sweetness. The apple or pear is going to give it sweetness. And some good Celtic salt. And you can even throw in some curry paste, like green Thai curry. You won't even taste the curry. It just it's crazy. It just transmutes more coconut oil to make it nice and sticky and sweet. And you will be in hog heaven with some avocado, on the side, and maybe couscous or rice or a good, baked potato or whatever. You'll be in hog heaven, and you'll get your protein. Is my point, okay? So there's where there's a will, there's a way. Um, I'm everyone is an atheist until they break through the veil. My people use the term Pachamama. Qigong is one good as well. Yeah, Qigong, absolutely. I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? I'm really happy you guys are here. There's so much to share. Food is going to be your fuel. And I will be honest with you, some of us who are vegan vegetarians, we do have a sweet tooth. That's probably the only thing I'll be honest with you about. You'll develop a sweet tooth. If you don't have one now, you will have one. But try to manage it, as best as you can. I know I have a massive sweet tooth, and that's something I'm looking to manage this year, finally. Anyway, I want to send you much love on your journey. Thank you for sending the love. Thank you for being here. I will upload this video, and it will be on my YouTube channel. Check out my YouTube channel. It's on my link tree. Check out my link tree. And for my Patreon, I'm going to start reading chapters of my book, Recall, and uploading it. I'm going to start working on that. So there's some nice stuff on Patreon. So if you want to join my Patreon, it's $5.99 a month. And there's some knowledge that I'm sharing that I'm not sharing with the rest. I have been kind of not good at uploading and updating my Patreon, but I'm going to start being more diligent with that. There was a lot of scares with my twin, and so I needed to focus on that. And now I can come back to you guys. All right, Polly, thank you so much. Much hugs to you. Love you, Polly. And James, thank you, my beautiful divine masculines, all of you who are here. I so appreciate it. We need you. We need you so badly, you divine masculines. We need you so badly. You have no idea. We need you to step up and to start talking about what it is to be a divine masculine, what it is to be awakened, what it is to be in the pain of separation with your twin. Even if you're together talking, you're still in separation unless you walk as one.